Hey all, welcome to Monday, welcome to Countdown Day, welcome to Tibbs Eve. If you live in Newfoundland, you know what Tibbs Eve is, or Tips Eve, or Tipsy Eve. It is really the day before Christmas Eve, and it really relates back, funny enough, to a date and a holiday, I suppose, when you didn't know when something was going to happen, so you called it Tibbs Eve. It has a long history, but here in Newfoundland, it is Tibbs Eve, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day. So I'm going to say Merry Christmas to you, or to the folks who celebrate it right now. This is my personal best top 10 Transformers that I got in my collection in 2024. So 2 weeks ago, we did the fan-voted top 10 best Transformers of 2024. Last week we did the fan-voted top 10 worst Transformers of 2024. And now today, whenever you're watching this, we will do the my top 10 best Transformers of 2024. Please note that this year, because of the way things fall timing-wise, we actually have a little bit of time left in 2024, about a week or so, and this is, of course, before Christmas. So anything I actually get for Christmas, like as a Christmas gift, though it's 2024, it won't be reviewed, it won't really be looked at or used till 2025, so I will be able to include those things then. So keep that kind of caveat in mind, because a couple of things here might go kind of replaced, so to speak. Without any further ado, however, let's take a look at my personal top 10 best of 2024 in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share. Of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring. Or, of course, you can hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. So, when we did the top 10 best of 2024, it was very Optimus heavy. There were a number of Optimi on there. Others as well, but a number of Optimi. Mine will definitely not have as much Optimi on here. It's just not the way I roll, right? But you can't argue with the voters. Remember, the rule here is that it had to be something that was released in 2024. And it had to be something that I actually bought and have in my own personal collection. Obviously, my list will look different than yours, and it looks different than the fan-voted list, because this one is extremely subjective based on my tastes on what I bought. A couple of caveats, I suppose, honorable mentions, I guess we could call them. Metalhawk. I know we had the Legacy United like toy accurate color version. I have the earlier version that was animation accurate. I didn't include that here because it was just a mold reuse. And while sometimes I'm okay with using mold reuses, there was enough great offerings in 2024 that I didn't feel a need to particularly put him on this list again. He did appear last year, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a tremendous use of the Cyclonus mold. I'm also going to note let's see, 86 Springer. He's really good. He didn't appear on the list, and the whole reason is because he's not a leader class. He is a glorified Voyager. Other than the value for money, he's a great mold. The Shattered Glass Grimlock, an excellent use of the Grimlock mold. Again, we've had 86 Grimlock on the list, and because there were so many great ones this year, as good as the Shattered Glass one is, I didn't want it to take up a valuable slot on the list, but it absolutely could have. I also this year, recently actually, got Armada Optimus Prime. That was from last year in 2023. I didn't put it on last year's list because I didn't own it. But a lot of people had it very high, if not number one on the list last year for themselves. And I see why. It is a tremendous Optimus Prime, and it is absolutely what Armada fans deserve after all these years. Studio Series 54 Megatron did not come out this year, though I did get it this year. That is a tremendous Megatron. And Farak. As excellent as Farak is, he almost eked on the list. But man, again, so many good ones this year. All of those I'm going to count as my honorable mentions. Some of them probably really deserve to be on the list though, but they're not. So you know what we're going to do next? We're going to do as we always do and kick things off with number 10 first. Number 10 is going to surprise a lot of people, I believe, because number 10 takes us to Earthspark and Aftermath. Love the look of the robot, super articulated. Love that the ankles can go all the way around and tilt in. That's fabulous. Granted, we don't have anything at the wrist, but the guy has great articulation, an excellent look for the bot mode. The transformation is really super duper interesting. The only gripe at all that I have against Aftermath is I wish he was bigger than this kind of deluxe-ish size. I wish he was more of a Voyager size. But if you took this big bulky bruiser of a tow truck and made him Voyager size, with this articulation, with this transformation, man, I think you'd have an absolute superstar on your hand. And that's why he takes the number 10 slot. Walk the plank, mateys, at number 9 with the Thundertron, the leader of the Starseekers, though depending on the continuity, some would say Cannonball is the leader. But the most popularized version of the Starseekers or Star Raiders has Thundertron as the leader. I've talked before about how Thundertron felt like his world was cut off when the space bridge collapsed for, I guess, a measure to stop the spread of the rust plague. And he wanted kind of revenge for his planet running out of resources. So he went back and he hates the Autobots, he hates the Decepticons. If you're Cybertronian, he doesn't like you. He recruited a pirate team, right? A lot of this leans heavily into his depiction in the aligned continuity. And while that was a good offering of a very kind of fringe type character that was supposed to appear in season 3 of Transformers Prime, what we ended up actually getting was like a great, I guess, lion type of mode of a bot that not many people knew. Fast forward all these years later and we get that same sort of thing again. And like in robot mode, he's solid, he's bulky. I mean, there's not much hollowness at all. I guess a little bit in the back of the legs and a little bit on the inside of the forearm, but he feels solid and hefty. He has a lot of parts count, nice paint applications, whether you have this one or the Walmart exclusive one with the lighter blues and the gold instead of the bronze. That's up to you. And the alternate head, of course. But I see this guy and I think he looks like a pirate. He has the tails of his pirate jacket. He has his, you know, big sword. He even has some asymmetry for battle damage for, you know, the times he's been in fights and whatnot. Because, you know, he's a scurvy sea dog, right? I prefer to think of this guy, because he feels like a leader to me, I prefer to think of this guy as the leader of the Star Seekers and Cannonball as his second in command. I love the transformation, I love the articulation, and I love the look of the guy. And that's why Thundertron, honestly, takes the number 9 slot. At number 8, I waited 40 years for this version of this character. It's Origins Wheeljack, and I have this guy courtesy of Ultra Megatronus. Huge shout out to him. I cannot thank him enough for sending this my way. And here's the thing. Origins Wheeljack is very special, not only because I waited 40 years for it, but because Wheeljack is really my favorite character. And I always thought that there's no way that they're ever going to be able to pull off that weird Cybertronian mode with any justice. But then this guy happened. And as much as I see the backpack and thought to myself, man, that's going to be so bulky, it's going to ruin this guy, the stuff on the legs will ruin this guy, it really doesn't. He actually has a really smooth transformation, even though it's panel-tastic. Everything works really smoothly with it, and despite having all the bulk on him, the articulation is really second to none. He can pull it all off, including a waist that goes all the way around unhindered, including, you know, a knee that goes to 90 degrees unhindered. Like, I'm shocked that they were able to pull off Wheeljack's Cybertronian alt mode this well, while also retaining a respectable level of accuracy for the robot mode. In fact, when it comes to the robot mode, about the only gripe that I could possibly levy is I wish that the bicep piece that the shoulder's connected to was not the dark gray, but rather white, because his bicep should be white. Other than that, this guy's fantastic, and he takes the number 8 slot. Number 7 takes us back to very early in the year, very much the beginning of Legacy United, and Magneous. First, I love the Infernac Universe Armorizers. I like the fact that it's something new, something unique, something different that we haven't had before. No, they're not just Rock Lords, though there is an homage to that in there. No, they're not just Inhumanoids, because that's where the Infernac Universe kind of comes from. And no, they're not just from that episode My Friend Six Shot, which I think was a Headmasters episode. They're all of those combined. Plus, it retains the gimmick of them becoming armor in bits and pieces like the Junkions did. And had the fiction for Legacy gone ahead the way it was planned, there would have been a story where Thundertron and his Starseekers were actually going back for revenge on Cybertron, and along the way recruiting Junkions to the crew and recruiting Armorizers to the crew. Where they would have found the Armorizers, I have no idea. Nevertheless, when Magneous first came out, when I reviewed him, I said, man, this is great. He has excellent articulation. It's something new. He has a really kind of creepy look to him, but very accurate to rocks. Solid, excellent tolerances, and a really wacky, cool-looking truck in the end with a bunch of asymmetry, as rocks would be. So great articulation, an excellent look, and a wonderful transformation on top of it. What's not to like about Magneous? And he takes the number 7 slot. At number 6, I told myself, I didn't really want this guy. I didn't need this guy. I didn't know how I felt about this guy. And when I first saw him way back in January of 2024, I skipped him. Didn't see him again until late in the summer. And it's this guy, Tigerhawk. And man, oh man, what a wild ride this guy is. I got him and I still wasn't sure if I wanted him. I fiddled with him and I still wasn't sure if I wanted him. The more that I have kind of picked at this guy, fiddled with this guy, transformed this guy, the more I realize this is brilliant. This is a brilliant feat of engineering. This has so much paint, so much texture detail, and a wild range of motion. Excellent articulation. About the only gripe articulation-wise that I have is, is it the wrist? Yeah, I feel like the wrists didn't... I don't think the wrists move. Mine might be tight. I can't recall for sure now. There was one hinge that I wanted him to have that he didn't have. Like, they even managed to work in a waist on the guy. And like, his whole kind of body comes apart, so it's kind of amazing that you can do that. Even something like the knee. The knee can go down, and while this piece moves up, you can actually move it forward, and it fills in the hollowness in the knee. Like, this guy just kept giving me surprise after surprise after surprise after surprise. He is bulky. He is hefty. He can display a billion different ways and look fantastic doing them all. His transformation is super involved, but also super fun and super smooth, with both alt mode and robot mode feeling like a reward for going through the effort. Excellent paint and texturing, excellent articulation, and a rewarding transformation lands Tigerhawk at the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd because we've reached the ever coveted and ever popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we go to Studio Series 86 and Swoop. I get that some people had gripes with this guy. I get that some people encountered certain QC issues. And I understand if that ruined this guy for you or put him on your worst list. Couple of things worth noting. Some people say, hey, this piece here that's supposed to lock in kind of up here on his crest broke on some people's. If that breaks, then yes, that would ruin this guy for you. Some people said that they found the feet super loose and that he falls back. I don't find that on mine. If you did, I could see how that would be a gripe. Some people said that the chest doesn't stay closed, and I tried to explain this in the review, though it didn't really show it in the review. After you have the transformation done, give under here, his armpits, a final squeeze, because there's actually round divots on both chest pieces that go into round slots on the side of the head. Or it's round divots on the head that go into slots on the chest. I can't remember how. But it doesn't just do it elegantly. You've got to give it that final push for it to be solid. I actually have a upgrade kit that I'm going to use with this guy. It is from Superman Studios, I believe. given to us by our buddy Joe. I haven't got it installed yet, but I love this guy as is. The kit will fill in like hollowness on the forearms, for example. There are new missile pieces, but I don't really know why. I don't know what's wrong with these. I don't know. I guess I'll see when I do it. And not for nothing, but there's a couple of pieces that go back here that actually make him a little more animation accurate. It's subtle, but it does add a little something. I love the look of this guy. I'm so glad that they actually painted the entire bird head gold to go with the other gold of the other Dinobots. Snarl is the odd man out with some gold plastic, or goldy colored plastic rather than gold paint. Nevertheless, this looks like it jumped off the screen. There is the look and the kind of animation accuracy. The articulation is fantastic. Some people, again, because of the chest, say, when I move the arm, the chest comes undone. I'm moving this side all around, nothing. I move this side all around, nothing, because my chest is solidified. I love the way the wings were done, and I love that they fold up back here. So we have excellent articulation, we have a lot of paint and super animation accuracy, and we have really a simple, like you would expect Swoop to transform, but at the same time, because all the pieces are big, chunky, honking pieces, it all feels pretty rewarding, at least to me. I get the gripes people have had with this, but for me and my experience, he comes in right in the middle of the road for best of the year at the number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4 is a guy that I think has perhaps the absolute most presence on my shelf with Straxus. I adore Straxus. I think using the Galvatron mold here was the right call. There's a little bit of remolding in the legs that means that the legs don't kind of fold down quite the same way as Galvatron's does, but they're not supposed to. He's supposed to be like a flying tank thing. And when you see him in his alt mode, and you look at the comic book, you'll say, man, that's really accurate. About the only thing not accurate about it is you see some of the like red shoulder, but that's accurate to the animation for robot mode, really, right? Though, I mean, there is another animation where like his whole arm is kind of blue. I think they've done the smart thing going with the red. Right down to the speckling up on his chest to mimic it looking like a comic book. I love that when they went with the head this time, they actually gave him his cold, black, dead eyes. He seems, how can I put this? He seems more formidable than the deluxe Dark Mount Straxus was. I like the deluxe Dark Mount Straxus, but this is way better. He looks formidable. He looks like if you saw him in Polyhex, you would try and get away with fear. He looks like someone who would be brutal to his underlings, brutal to those who live in Polyhex, as he is supposed to be. He looks like a tyrant, and a successful tyrant, and that's why Straxus takes the number 4 slot. Now we're into the top 3, and we're going to stick with the tyrant for number 3, and this is a character that came in the fan vote at number 2 for best of the year, and it's Commander Class Magmatron. Beast Wars Neo Magmatron. He detests Big Convoy. The fact that we have an update to Magmatron baffles me. And in the main line at a Commander Class, he's supposed to be bigger than Big Convoy, and I think if you have the original Big Convoy, the scale here works, though I'm sure we're going to get a Commander Class Big Convoy at some juncture. But this scale works with that because he should be quite a bit bigger than Big Convoy. I mean, he has all 3 dino modes. He does that weird Chimera type of mixed dino mode thing. I don't think it's good, but he does do it. The articulation here is second to none. I absolutely forgot with the fan vote that he does have a waist. Now, to access the waist, you need to pick up this panel here and untab it, and then he has a waist. So it's there, but you have to kind of untransform something for him to have it. So people that pointed that out, thanks, I had forgotten. The fact that he becomes those 3 dinos and then solidifies together to give us really a solid robot that's very articulated. Like a lot of times when you have these parts that go together for one robot, it's loose, it's janky, parts fall off and stuff. Not with this guy. Everything goes together tremendously well and tremendously solid. The transformation super duper interesting, absolutely wild. The look super duper interesting, and the articulation really a lot more impressive than I thought it was going to be. All while coming in at an actual Commander class mass. The mass, the heft is here. The only thing that I wish is the head had a little better movement. It goes left and right, but because of the wings on it, it doesn't really have an up and down. I wish it had that, but I understand why it doesn't. Yeah, Magmatron. Man, bring me a Beast Wars 2 Galvatron, because if it's anything as good as Kingdom Legacies versions of Megatron and, say, Transmetal 2 Megatron, and if it's anything as good as the other bookend of the Predacon leaders, being Magmatron, then give me a high-quality Galvatron right in between those two Predacon leaders. For now, Legacy United Commander Class Magmatron takes the number 3 slot for Best Transformer of 2024. Coming in at number 2 was the fan-voted number 1, and it's another Commander class with Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. I didn't even think I needed or wanted this guy. I said consistently, man, I think that my Earthrise is just fine, and I was convinced for a long time that they were going to use the Earthrise because of how fantastic that is as well, and really they were going to give it all the doodads that we had in the Centurion pack. They were going to probably give it a new trailer, but it was going to be that bot, and I said I don't need to pay a Commander price for that. Then they revealed it was going to be a whole new Optimus, and I was like, man, I don't know. We'll see. And I ended up getting it, and boy, oh boy, am I glad that I did. He came with everything from roller to the trailer to the, I don't know what you call it, the repair drone, I suppose, to blast effects, to his axe that doesn't go over his hand. It goes onto a nub, to articulated hands, to what I think is a perfect head sculpt, though some people have replaced it with a 3D printed one that, granted, while that can look up better than this one, I don't feel like it's more accurate than this one. I feel like that one's less animation accurate, but to each their own. It's probably varying degrees of accuracy. I think this head is perfect, right down to the matrix, right down to even his backpack that people have complained about. Remember, this is deliberate because this is supposed to mimic when he uses Sideswipe's thruster pack in that one episode. And honestly, while that wasn't in the movie in '86, you know what? If you're going to deal with a backpack, make it look like a thruster pack. Why not? That's the best way to do it. In his hand, by the way, you might say, that's not his ion blaster. It's not. This is a resin cast of the Centurion pack ion blaster that was given to me by our buddy Dragonfly, and I think it matches this guy way better. Tremendous look, as if he jumped off the screen. Tremendous smooth transformation. And honestly, all the articulation that I could possibly want. Granted, I had to do the whole heel fix, which was annoying, but man, hard not to love this guy. And for me, he takes the number 2 slot. And now here we are, very tippy top number 1. And number 1 I own, but I'm actually going to use a picture of it because right now around me, you guys probably can't tell, there's a lot of stuff because we are doing a couple of renovations. Well, Starscream wife is doing renovations. Can't say we. That wouldn't be true because I'm not doing anything. She's doing it all. But there's a lot of stuff here, and getting this guy from his display was going to be more of a challenge than it was worth. But number 1 for a lot of people was on their 2023 list. For me, I did not get my copy until 2024, and it's this guy. That's right, Deathsaurus, HasLab Deathsaurus. I couldn't include it on my 2023 because I didn't have it. I didn't know if it was good or junk at that point. I said last year, we'll see where and if he lands in 2024. I got mine in February of 2024, so he's a 2024 release for me. This picture is my actual Deathsaurus in his display. So, what can I say here? In terms of value for money, he is actually more value for money than the Star Saber was. In terms of mass, in terms of paint detail, in terms of completing the little Micromaster quartet that we had with Boater and who else came with him? Peepo? Was it Peepo and Boater that came with him? I think that's who it was. Someone could correct me. Plus he has, you know, lion chest and eagle chest, or lion breast and eagle breast if you use the victory, you know, terminology. Seeing him next to Lio Kaiser and my fans project Dino King is really rewarding, because him, along with his two chest masters, along with the combiner, plus I did a custom of Death Cobra, along with the fans project Dino King, and all of the Pretender shells. Shockingly, that's all the Victory Decepticons, and there's something really rewarding about having that whole set. Plus he has his throne, which he sits in with pride. In terms of the bot himself, he looks very animation accurate. The lower legs are more toy accurate than animation accurate, but everything from the knee up is animation accurate. Granted, some of the grays could have been a little lighter, but if you want to kind of call it an amalgam between animation and toy, he pulls it off super tremendously well. Doesn't mean that the MMC, for example, is also not fantastic, but this one is definitely a cleaner representation. I have no QC issues whatsoever with mine. None. Zero. The articulation is tremendous. The transformation is easy, but because it's all nice, chunky, big pieces that are moving, for something that was very expensive, for something that was, you know, a HasLab exclusive and whatnot, that you can't just go and likely get one very easy on the aftermarket if it was to break or something, I don't feel like anything is going to break. I think it was great materials. I think it's a tremendous look with lots of paint, tons of paint. I think that the articulation is bonkers well achieved. All of the accessories that store in the back of his throne, the throne itself, and, you know, any kind of metric that you want to use, Deathsaurus kicks it out of the ballpark. He really, really does. I understand why he topped many lists for 2023. But since I got him in 2024, he will top the 2024 list at the #1 slot. And that's it, my personal 10 down to 1 for best of 2024. I'm sure that with, you know, Santa Claus coming just around the corner, just 2 days as of this going up, I'm sure that I'm sure I've been a good enough boy this year that maybe, just maybe, I might get a couple of things that probably could have been included on this list. We'll have to wait and see. But because this list is now done and in the books, if I do get anything like that, it will have to be something that we revisit in 2025, just like with Deathsaurus. No extras to add here. I kind of talked about the honorable mentions earlier, so I'm simply going to say that whatever it is you celebrate, whether it's a happy Kwanzaa, a joyous Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, or, and I can't remember what it's called, and I really feel bad for this, but I know in Japan that New Year's is like the second most important day, and I think the holiday starts with an O, and I'm sorry I don't know it, but whatever it is you celebrate this time of year, whoever it is that you celebrate it with, please keep in mind that I appreciate you coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you, and I very, very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit. Either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or right here inside the videos. Now normally that's where I cut it off, but I think it's more appropriate now, just before Christmas, to end with, don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that somehow, some way, each and every single day, you right there, you do make a difference in the world. Now, during the holidays, and every day. Merry Christmas.